Thanks for your company. The President has terminated the appointment of Executive Secretary of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC, Samuel Sapong. Mr. Sapong, who was appointed in 2012, has been asked to hand over to one Mame Dufi in a letter to him signed by the President's Executive Secretary, Nana Asante Bidieto. Now, Mr. Sapong has recently been embroiled in a lot of controversy over alleged corruption allegations. Maxwell Agbagba visited the PURC head office in Accra this morning. He met the staff in a jubilant mood.
PURC, say yeah. Yeah.
For some time now, we've been fighting to get a good executive secretary. In short, we have one. We are so excited because for some few weeks, we've been so down. We are so excited. We don't know what to tell God. We are so happy. So if you see us, PURC, this is PURC members, PURC staff, we are so happy. We are just saying thank you to God, God Almighty, because if it had not been God, we would not come to this far. So,
Executive Secretary of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, Mr. Samuel Sapong, just walked in some minutes ago, but he would not talk to us. In fact, we drew his attention to the fact that we were around and wanted to get his response to the letter that was released by the presidency yesterday. But he appeared very furious and angry at the time that we called him and then mentioned his name. He just walked in, passed by us quickly into his office. We saw about 3 men following him with his bag. Quickly he entered his office. But I have with me here Kwaku Tufor. He is one of the executives for the local union here, and I have Emmanuel Dowuna also here with me. They're going to tell us more about this and how they feel about it. First of all, let me start with you, Kwaku. What was it like when you heard the news yesterday? We know you've been fighting this, for many months. Eventually, government has done what you were calling for. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it came to me as a surprise. Yes.
What's a surprise? You've been calling for this for a very long time.
Because we started this for quite some time now, and we were not hearing anything from the appointing authorities. So yesterday, when we heard that the ultimate has happened, I was surprised, but I was quite relieved then.
Let me find out from you also, Emmanuel. You are also an executive of the local union here. Same feeling?
Yeah, same feeling. Like my colleague is saying, we got frustrated at a point because we started this battle in January, if I'm right. We kept writing to the office of the president, making appeals. Occasionally, we got some few feedbacks that it would be well. At a point, we gave up until yesterday. God finally spoke.
Staff of the PURC then in a very jubilant mood at the head office here in Accra. But we also visited the PURC's office in the Ashanti region. Erastus Asaredonko spoke to some of the staff.
I'm white because we are in a jubilant mood. We submitted a petition to government to give us a new executive secretary. We thank the government for being a listening government. He has done what we wanted, and then we thank him.
So you're happy with what has happened?
Very, very much happy.
How much happy?
So much that I'm white today.
How different? What is going to add up to your work with this decision?
Now we are going to have effective monitoring. We are going to go out there to educate the public. There is going to be unity. There is going to be staff morale. Everything is on point now, so there's a joy for coming to work, and that joy is going to reflect in how we relate to our customers and make sure that we serve our customers well.
As you can see, we are very, very happy.
What are your expectations of a new boss?
Yes, of course. Basically, we are here to work, and that's and nothing more. And we want to work more than we used to do. We want to reach out to the customers. We want to resolve cases in the power sector and the water sector as well.
We want to go out there. We want the constituents to see that we are with them and we are for them. The utilities must also feel same. Everybody must put his or her hand on deck and work. That's it. We want to work. That's it.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. And the union makes us strong.
Some jubilant staff there in the Ashanti region office of the PURC. Away from that, the rise in the level of the Volta Lake poses a great challenge to pupils residing in isolated communities around Abotoase in the Biakuya district of the Volta region. These young ones are compelled to swim to school because a dilapidated bridge that links the communities has been submerged. But a benevolent citizen has come to their aid by providing a boat to transport pupils to and from school in an effort to enhance access to education. A report by Fred Kwame Asare.
The people say they either have to swim to school or spend many hours waiting for a boat. But a boat donated by Daniel Kosina, a benevolent citizen, has brought great relief. Bernard Akpaliga, a pupil from one of the isolated communities, is glad he will now be able to go to school without much difficulty.
Sometimes we even remove our school uniform before we cross the river. Sometimes the boat will be full, and sometimes you will not get the person who will cross us. Sometimes we'll be walking on the bridge and the bridge will broke, and we will come back again. We will waste all our times here. Sometimes we go to school 12 o'clock, 10 o'clock. That's the challenges that we are going. That's why we want the president, our assemblyman, to help us.
The assembly member for the area, Daniel Faje, was grateful for the gesture but said a bridge was needed immediately.
When this thing started earlier this year, they made some maintenance on this bridge that make us get access to before it become unbecoming. So as he is donating this canoe to the community again to be crossing, when we go to the overbank here across this area, we have about more than 5,000 plus people here. So they don't have access. These market women are suffering. These farmers, those people from this town cross over for their farming and their fishing activities. So you see how the people are suffering here.
Daniel Kosina said his concern for school children who were struggling to access education pushed him to provide the boat for them.
Formerly, we were having a bridge, a foot bridge, but because of the water level, the lake, because of the level of the lake, hence the foot bridge cannot be used anymore. Hence, there's a need for me to get a boat for them quickly so that we don't get an accident. Otherwise, we might get casualty here. And it's my belief and prayer that both the assemblymen and the community will take good care of the canoe for the boat for the children, so that all of us, at the end of the day, be happy that our children are safe from the Abotoase to the other end, and from the other end back to Abotoase.
Daniel Kosina has also adopted a theater at the Wawara Hospital and has paid for the leaking roof of the facility to be fixed. Fred Kwame Asare's report for Joy News.
In the following report, we'll tell you how a polytechnic graduate has defied the odds to sell damaged car batteries at Kumasi Magazine for a living. 34-year-old Kofi Adusei, who graduated from Sunyani Polytechnic, now Sunyani Technical University, in 2010, says his life has changed for the better by his newfound enterprise. Joy News' Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin has more.
With the whole of education that you have acquired, and you can't start something, meaning the education is nothing, because knowledge and wisdom, they are two different things. After acquiring the knowledge in this school, you can't apply it, then what is the essence of being in this school?
He buys and sells the damaged batteries to interested customers and makes over 3,000 cedis a month. At the time of my visit, Kofi had just returned from his usual rounds of searching for used-up and abandoned batteries. Unfortunately, today, he had only one. Kofi studied HND General Agriculture Science with the intention of starting his farm after school. He tells me life after national service was very difficult.
After finishing my national service at Bekum, I thought life has ended.
5 years ago, Kofi relocated to Kumasi in the Ashanti region from his hometown of Brekum in the Bono Ahafo region, still in search of a job. Days and months passed as he continued the seeming endless hunt. One day, Kofi met a friend, one Mr. Bismarck, who introduced him into the used battery business. Initially, he was reluctant and adamant to take up the work, but somehow he decided to give it a shot.
So when I saw that my soul, he can help me, so I joined him. And we started on the first day. He was shouting, condemn matter, condemn matter. So I was shy. Say, hey, how can somebody graduate like me start shouting condemn matter, buying condemn matter? So he said, oh, why are you not shouting? Because you'll be doing this for a while.
So you guys were moving from one place to the other?
We were roaming all over Mazi, shouting condemn matters.
In all days, Kofi had to deal with shyness of a graduate doing a menial job and fear of failure. Today, Kofi does not regret his decision.
My life has been better, because if I hear of some people maybe earning 1,000 or 1,500 a month, I laugh. And I say, we have been pampering education. I know education is the key and the backbone of every successful nation. But being in business that people don't respect, and I'm earning this, I feel proud of myself.
For Kofi, it is only death that can take him away from his current business. So what do you have to tell all the graduates out there who are waiting for the government to provide them with jobs?
I tell them they have to apply what they learn in school. Start something. Because if you don't start something, even they give you the color job, you are going to collapse the job. Because you don't have what it takes to manage your own life or manage the job itself.
He has never abandoned his dream of applying the knowledge he acquired in school. He plans to venture into farming soon.
Let's say 4 or 5 years, I will engage myself in agriculture. This is my plan.
Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin reporting.
Remember. So it's there now.
Yeah. Sleepless nights, fear and uncertainty, words that best describe the aftermath of Saturday's gas explosion at Atomic Junction on Caroline Isiedu Ochre, a resident of Firestone. When the explosion started, she was home with her 2 children and parents. With her son at her back and a limping aged mother, she narrates to Joy News' Faustina Safo how they narrowly escaped death.
We're all in the living room with the kids. I mean, my son, my daughter. My son is 7 years old, my daughter 9 years old. I mean, they were having fun. They were just up to their usual antiques. We were listening to the news. And I had a phone call. So in the midst of the noise, I decided to go and sit in the bedroom and listen to the call. And it was a normal phone call. I was happily chatting and laughing. Then suddenly, I thought I could hear noise, commotion. Initially, I thought it was from the other side of the caller, so I almost asked what was going on. Then I realized the sound was closer to me. In my mind, I thought, oh, it's another accident again, because we're used to having cars knocking people down on a particular stretch. I remember I got up and looked out of the window casually, really, expecting to see somebody had been knocked down. So initially I looked on the streets to see who had been knocked down. Then I noticed that people were running from the Atomic Street. From my bedroom window, I can see a bit of Baritas. So I saw people running from there. Then I heard somebody shouting, so immediately I panicked. Then I realized that people were also running under my building on my side. So I quickly shouted out, "What is happening? What is going on?" Somebody shouted, "Gas leakage." That is when it dawned on me that there was a strong smell of gas in the atmosphere. I mean, I don't know how I flew out of the bedroom, but I managed to fly out of the bedroom and shouted to my mom, to everybody, "Come on, let's go, let's run out, let's go." How we went out of the house, I don't know. But we came out of the gates, and a few people were there, including my dad. We shouted out as well, so he was also there. But then it didn't really look like much of a fire. So my first instinct was to call the fire service. This is when I was talking to him, we heard a loud bang. We just ran towards the direction of Zongo Junction. Then at some point, I realized my mom was nowhere near me. I turned around and my son almost falling off my back. So I kind of grabbed hold of him, realized my mom was on the floor, and I haven't forgotten what I saw until today. I mean, she was just being trampled upon. I clearly remember seeing a foot in her face. Somehow she got up. We just kept on running, and then the second blast just came. And I remember when I was picking her up, you could see the fireball. We could feel the heat. I mean, it was like, I don't know, we could just feel the heat. So I don't know how we got up. We kept on running. I had to hold on to her. We kept on running. I remember my son was shaking so much that my body was literally shaking as well. It's not something that one can easily forget, especially, seeing that your children need your help and you can't do anything to help them. And some way, somehow, we managed to get back home. And it was crazy. I mean, the whole place was dark. I remember the ASN building next to my building, their glass had exploded. So we literally stepped on some of the broken glass before we realized that, it was actually glass that we were stepping on. And my kids won't leave me. They were just holding on to me. It's as if, and not just them. I think it's something that we all haven't gotten over.
Really heartwarming narrative there. The Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, says it's working around the clock to ensure that gas filling stations are henceforth allocated 2 plots square land for commercial purposes. The Atomic Junction gas explosion that killed 7 people has left many questioning why some gas and fuel stations are sited in the middle of residential areas. But Executive Director of the EPA, Peter Abum-Sarkodie, explains his agency is doing all it can to reverse the situation. He was speaking on Joy News' current affairs show, PM Express.
Personally, I felt that, yes, if we may not be able to take away this issue of residential problem, then perhaps what we can do is that in future we were suggesting that we should be able to allocate land size of about, say, if we have about, say, 2 plots square for a gas filling station, okay, at each time.
Okay.
That would mean that if the gas station is situated at the middle of such a plot, then even the immediate residential facility will be at least, let's say, at least 1 plot away
from there.
So I have just personally put up this proposal, and I think that we are working seriously on how we could earmark, or the town and country planning could earmark quite a larger square size area, so that the residential areas will be quite far apart from the place, in order to create that space for the operation. So all these things are discussions and steps that we are taking, which we would pass through our sector minister for presentation to cabinet. And as I said, as the incidents occur, we only would have to reasonably take steps to make sure that this is what we have seen. What can we do the next time for us to forestall any of such unfortunate situation? So we put up certain mitigating steps to make sure that the incident doesn't occur at all in future.
Meanwhile, the Association of Oil Marketing Companies has hinted it's also working around the clock to get up to standard equipment to detect leakages at the various fuel stations. Coordinator of the association, Kweku Ajimandria, who brought this to light on PM Express, is optimistic this will help deal with some of the explosions.
Okay. We're trying to look at how we can secure some of this and to detect leakage. And you know, I mentioned the chemistry. The chemistry of gas is not the same. You know, the one we have from the refinery and the one we have from Atuabo and the one we really import, there's a variant, you know, and we need to see how we can work it out with the gadgets we are talking about. Okay. So even in a statement, you realize that you put in that we want to work with MPA to look at the job safe procedures of transferring products.
How long should we wait to see some of these things come in place?
That'll be quick. In fact, we have started working on sources for those ones. And I think it's business for some people as we speak right now. If people can get at those things. Normally those tools are not very expensive. They are disposable, so we can easily get on. So it's something that we are looking forward to that. And I'm sure by being on this, somebody will take it as a business and get with us and we'll be able to work it out.
Now, a total number of 17,422 people were displaced by various forms of disaster in the eastern region between January and December 2016. A total of 7 persons were killed during the various disasters that occurred in the region. It's estimated that millions of Ghana cedis were lost during these disasters, which include domestic fire outbreaks, rainstorms, windstorms, flooding, among others. Now, the disaster had an effect on food security as it led to the destruction of 1,577 acres of land by bushfires. Eastern Regional Director of the National Disaster Management Organization, Kwame Appiah-Kodua, made the disclosure at the regional celebration of the International Day for Disaster Reduction held in Abume in the Esuojuman district of the Eastern region. He said NADMO has shifted from disaster management to prevention, adding that the Eastern Region NADMO has set 21st October 2017 to embark on a massive cleanup exercise to desilt gutters and clean the city ahead of the projected rainfalls, thus to forestall flooding. Kwame Appiah-Kodua was speaking at a ceremony to mark International Day for Disaster Reduction and currently underway at Abume in the Esuojuman district of the Eastern region. That day is commemorated on the 13th of October and celebrates how people and communities around the world are reducing the exposure to disasters. This year's ceremony is under the well, John Uses Maxwell Kudeko joins us from the grounds. We'll be speaking to him shortly. Hello, Maxwell.
Hello, Benny.
Well, what else did Mr. Appiah-Kodua say?
Well, Mr. Appiah-Kodua was devastated by the effect of disaster in the region and Ghana as a whole. He says that the NADMO is moving from more of disaster management to disaster prevention. So they are putting in place a series of measures to curb or reduce the occurrence of disaster in the country. He says that they're going to intensify awareness creation on the causes, effects, and control of bushfires. They're going to do more public education on the need to keep a safe and healthy environment during by deserting of gutters, among others. He also talked about the planting of trees to serve as windbreaks during windstorms, among a host of strategies that have been mapped by the NADMO to help reduce the occurrence of disaster in the country.
Well, Maxwell, Deputy Eastern Regional Minister and MP for Upper Menya constituency, Joseph Tete, also spoke at the event. What did he say?
The Deputy Regional Minister talked about the fact that disaster management is relatively young field in the country. He, however, called on all stakeholders, including city planners, members of government, individuals, and other organizations to team up with government efforts in reducing the occurrences of disaster in the country. He says that the Ghana government is working very hard and is ready and willing to put more effort in minimizing the disaster, and also enforcing environmental conservation and other disaster prevention laws in the country to mitigate the occurrence of the disaster. He also charged the NADMO to intensify their awareness creation in order to help curb occurrences of disaster in the country.
Finally, before you go, Maxwell Kudeko, the program is still underway, but has any of the speakers mentioned the atomic junction gas explosion that occurred over the weekend and the reforms that the cabinet has proposed, and how they in their small way want to replicate or enforce those reforms in the region?
Well, the Deputy Minister, Mr. Joseph Tete, recounted a series of disasters that are before the country from last year to date. And he says that government have taken note of occurrence of such disaster and are putting measures in place to mitigate its occurrence. He mentioned that government is going to strictly enforce all disaster prevention laws through its various agencies, i.e. the EPA and all the other related agencies that are mandated to help conserve our environment and prevent disaster from occurring. So
thank you very much. Well, Maxwell Kudeko there some updates on the International Day Against Disasters that's been celebrated in the Eastern region at Abume, to be precise. We'll take a quick breather now. We'll bring you more stories shortly. Thanks for staying here on Joe News Today. If you've ever purchased or if you've ever pressed the center of a canned product you purchased and felt an up and downward movement, then there are fears you might have purchased a harmful product. Head of Food Enforcement at the Food and Drugs Authority, Maria Abba Lovelace Johnson, says seal testing is very important.
If you pick up a can and you press the can like this, and it gives, with us, there is no noise. Sometimes when you press it and it goes up, you hear tick, tock, there is a problem. It has started. There is a little gas or some air in it, and that is not a good sign. Sometimes, after a while, you pick that same can or you buy something and you realize that it has bloated. It's so turgid. You realize that there is some accumulation of gas in. That's also a bad sign, because it shouldn't be. It should just, every can should be just like this. And then you realize that there is a problem. We do a lot of consumer education. We tell people don't buy bloated cans. When it's even dented, don't buy. Because even some of the things that could happen was, you know, when the lid is being put on, the seam is this way. If the seam integrity is compromised, that also allows air to get in, and it could cause the problems that have been caused by that we have with regards to Asahi. So we tell people dented cans, stay away from them. Bloated cans, when they are rusty, stay away from them, because all of these compromise the integrity of the can and the contents. So do not take.
Now, the difficulty of consumers to determine whether a product has been registered with the FDA has for long been the reason, or could be the reason, for the prevalence of unwholesome products on the Ghanaian market. Here are some things you should be looking out for.
But then you look out for the best before date if it's there. You look out for list of ingredients if it's there. You look out for the net weight or net content, so to speak. The batch number, is there a peculiar number? The name, address of manufacturer or packer or distributor and all that. And the country of origin. If you find that all these are there, you go ahead, you find that we have these in English language, indelible and legible, then you know, well, they are on course. That's likely it's registered.
The alert comes after the authority destroyed over 4,000 cans of Asahi and so nice mackerel contain poisonous chemicals capable of killing consumers. The cans were not inspected by the authority on entry when imported. because the authority was informed they will not be sold locally as they were just passing through the country. Speaking on News Desk earlier today, Madam Lovelace Johnson said her office will soon begin tracking such products to ensure they are not sold locally.
Under normal circumstances, when any products, any food products or drugs, cosmetics, medical devices, or any products that we regulate come into the country, GRA notifies us and we give the permits for it to be cleared. This time, because it wasn't meant to be in this country, Food and Drugs Authority was not notified at all. So GRA was doing its own tracking. Then FDA had wind of the fact that these products are in the country. The So Nice is actually on the market, and Asahi is somewhere in Accra as well. So we then had to quickly act and get hold of these products and confiscate them. The Asahi was so smelly, it had gone very bad, putrefaction had taken place, and really the smell was awful. So we just had to do the destruction quickly before anyone even decides to take some of the products in.
What of the So Nice mackerel?
The So Nice was confiscated as well, but that was taken from the market. So we're still in the process of recalling from the market.
So there are still some cans of So Nice on the market?
There are still some cans, we believe. That is why we've asked consumers to beware of So Nice mackerel. Now that we have had this experience, we're not even going to let go of such products anymore. We will really do our own tracking as well, because if anyone does whatever has been done by this importer, then we are in big trouble. So we're also going to do the tracking.
Cocoa Management System UCL Ghana is worried about government's delay in implementing and facilitating the cocoa management system. The scheme is expected to provide automatic electronic scale and make cocoa bags traceable. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin has more in this report.
The system, established 2 years ago, is also projected to provide accurate and prompt information on farmer location, yield and sales. Director of IT, Anani Ajay, says it was designed to enhance cocoa scholarship and other social interventions for farmer pension planning. Cocoa management system is the first ever automated solution developed in the industry to manage the entire supply chain. It comprises 3 main components, namely a Equafor payment system, production input system, and a secured payment platform. The system is expected to reduce administrative and financial costs at COCOBOT and local buying companies through automation. Mr. Ajay explains.
What we are saying, what we are telling the government is that we have developed this facility, this equipment that provides, that's the equipment, the intelligence scale that provides real-time information about a farmer. Now, what it is doing is that it is going to prevent the purchasing clerk from undervaluing and underweighing the products of the cocoa farmer. That is one. Number 2, it is going to transmit the real information and the real weight of what the farmer is providing. And it is also going to apply an instant payment for the weight that they weigh. That means that they don't have to wait for a long time to be paid after they have weighed their product. So it is a good thing for the government and COCOBOT and the LBCs to adapt their skill and to adapt the system so that it will help the farmers and it will also help the supply chain. I think this is going to be a great opportunity for us moving forward and capturing data for our planning and for effective development. It is also going to create employment, and it is also going to help the youth to acquire more knowledge, and for the government also to benefit and the whole country to benefit from it.
Mr. Anani Ajay says delay implementation of the system is a drawback.
So far, the challenges that we have, it's with the implementation. For now, the government is a little slow in adapting and facilitating the implementation. In fact, like I said, we started 2 years ago. We should have implemented it very far from at this time, but it was very slow. Thankfully, this government is trying to facilitate it, and we also have organizations like AGRA coming on board to adapt it and to facilitate the implementation.
Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reporting.
Thank you so much for staying here on Joy News today. We are bringing you some updates from Liberia because we've been joined on the phone lines by the media officer of the National Elections Commission, NEC, Henry Boy Flomo. Good afternoon, sir. Thanks for your time. Hello, sir.
How are you?
Can you hear me, Mr. Flomo?
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Great to have you here on Joy News today. First, let's talk about what a lot of people have referred to as delay in the transmission or declaration of results, because we were expecting the results on the day of election, the evening of that day. What has happened? Why the delay?
Well, our law provides that we give results of the election in 15 days following the poll. So we are still on course. Yes, we could not start reading out provisional results the day following because the polls, some of the polling areas closed as late as 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. And the reason was we have a little problem with few of the polling places. People did not know the red lines or the particular polling rooms to go to. So that delay, so we allow the poll to go beyond hours. So that was the first delay. So the tallying started a little bit late on the 11th. So we started the announcement of the provisional results yesterday, and in a moment from now, we will continue with the provisional results.
All right, but we've also seen some fake reports declaring winners of the elections. Has this in any way affected your work?
Come again?
I'm saying that we've seen a lot of fake reports on social media, and you're asking how that has affected your work, that is, if it has even.
Well, if I got you people giving results, if that's what you said, well, what happens normally by practice, we post results per polling place on the walls of the polling places or on the doors of the polling centers. So people take advantage of our results posted on the doors or on the walls of the polling places and probably announce them on the radio. But again, the law provides that only the Elections Commission has a legal authority to conduct elections and announce results thereof. So we've been warning people that much as we post our results on the wall, it does not mean that you should announce winners or losers. You can say that you saw this number because the problem is there is the likelihood that those figures could be manipulated by somebody. So we've been telling the public that only the National Elections Commission has got the final result.
All right, finally, this is the first time after the Civil War that your organization is independently organizing and facilitating the elections in Liberia. What are some of the challenges you faced?
Well, we face challenges, like, for instance, rule to have access to some leeward counties, for instance. Of course, the issue of funding, the central government has some challenges, but the commitment was there. It's like we will get some of these challenges following the election, lessons learned. But overall, I think it was good. We met, almost 90% of our initial timeline. So I mean, the Election Commission is replete with experienced people. They learn their lessons from the international community. So this is, like you said, this is the first time, and
well, that was Mr. Henry Flomo, the media officer of the National Election Commission, and that's how we end this edition of Joy News today. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. We also have news on our Facebook page, Joy News on TV, and on Twitter as well. Our handle is Joy News on TV. My name is Benis Abubedu, and from the entire team, we wish you a very good weekend. Take care.